When I reviewed this video and I happened to just stumble across it, you know how it is when you're watching YouTube videos, in my case, watching for content, I was able to identify 3 points of contention. The first is police escalation. The second is police use of force and what the chief says afterwards. And the third point of contention is the media who reported this. And I'll explain all that as we get into the video. So here we go. Escalation, justification, and ignorance, or at least a lack of thoroughness on the part of the media. Credit where credit is due. The first two officers were fantastic. It was the third officer, the instigator, who caused all the problems.
Hey, get back over here.
More than 2 years after the incident, WRTV Investigates obtained multiple angles of body camera footage from the incident. It starts as Muncie police are responding to a report of an intoxicated person. Joshua Douglas initially ran away when they approached.
Why'd you run?
Because y'all pull up on me for no reason and doing all this. I ain't did nothing.
All we would have done was just sit there and talk just like what you and I are now. What's wrong with that?
Because all the extra shit is just, I don't be having time for it, man. I'm on parole. I work. I stay out of trouble. I've been out since August.
You being on parole, you take off running, you're just going to catch another case.
I'm just saying.
Right?
Douglas continues to talk to officers while keeping his phone to his ear. Officer Alex Moore's body camera is rolling as he approaches the scene.
Put your phone down.
Did
Put
it?
your phone down real quick. Go and put your hands behind your back, okay?
In case you weren't keeping count, it took only 4 seconds for Officer Moore to escalate. Now, as far as the other two officers who up to this point were really good, really professional, really cool with the guy, what I see is they were stuck. He went hands-on so quickly, and you can see he's got his arm around this young man's neck already, that once that third officer initiated violence, they had no choice but to help get that young man, quote, under control. It was the third officer who put those first two in a really crappy position.
Put your hand down. Stay away from me. Don't.
Stay
Put your
strong.
hands.
Get your stomach. You hear me? Get your stomach. You hear me?
Officer Moore has some real anger issues.
You hear me? Get on your stomach. Give me your hand. Put your hand up.
Officer Moore, the officer seen punching Douglas, says in his official report he approached after finding a bag of amphetamines and said Douglas tensed and continued to resist. I gave multiple loud verbal commands for Joshua to get onto his stomach, but he refused to do so.
You punch me in my eyes.
Your head, your teeth.
In 2018, after Douglas' arrest, former Chief Joe Winkle told WRTV that the punching was not excessive.
I don't think so. I mean, I think those punches, as long as you're telling him what you want him to do and where they were thrown, that's how we're trained.
Joshua Douglas suffered injuries and physical pain as a result of the arrest, according to an excessive force lawsuit filed against Muncie police in 2019.
Frankly, I don't think I've ever seen a more vicious assault on a person who's not resisting. This is the point where the other two officers who started off polite and professional, they are as guilty and as complicit in the beatdown of this young man as the third officer who is now pummeling him. I'll tell you what, Chief, if you think that was fine, let me do that to you when you're not resisting, you absolute piece of human filth. It was excessive force. It was pure, unrestrained violence. Let me tell you guys that there's not one sanctioned defensive tactics course in this country that will train civilian law enforcement to do that under those circumstances. That was no different than a street fight where the one combatant is knocked out, but the other one keeps pounding on him. And someone had to do it. They just had to pull out their little pocket cop and call 911 and summon these psychopaths. They always have to do it. our little buddies out there, the Karens and the Darrens. They call these psychopaths, and innocent people are being hurt or killed. And even though this individual might have had a checkered past, and maybe he was intoxicated in public, did not justify what these officers did to him. It wasn't even close, guys. And then the chief has the nerve, the gall, to say it was justified? Tell you what, Chief, if you think the officers were justified because of your training, then someone better take a hard look at the training you're providing your officers. But I don't think they're getting that kind of training. Maybe they're not getting any training. Maybe the training they're getting is not suitable for civilian law enforcement. But they sure as hell were never trained to do this. And this is where I have a problem with the media and that reporter. Show me anywhere in there where she asked any probative questions about the training that he said justified this level of violence. She didn't. I've spoken about this and I have written about this. And that's about the trainers and the training programs and the training academy, the field training programs, the in-service training programs. Does anybody think about going after the training program? Getting their hands on the training curricula, in this case when it comes to use of force? Does anyone, maybe after the fact? See, that's the problem. Oh, we're going to find out how they're training officers after they've already beaten or killed someone. How many times have we seen this play out? How many more times do we have to see this play out? An officer escalates, and because they escalate when there's no need for it, they use that as an opportunity to unleash extreme force and violence. And then the other officers stand around with their thumbs up their ass. They decide to jump in because now they get to have fun. They have plausible deniability. Well, gee, it was Officer Moore who went hands-on first. We have to put our officer safety first because none of us want to get hurt on the job. It's okay if we beat the hell out of other people, but we don't want to get hurt. Gee, we want to get back to our families. What about the people they beat up and kill? You think maybe they wanted to get back to their families too? Or does that not count? And let's talk about one more thing. Graham v. Connor. Graham v. Connor. Obviously, the chief doesn't know about it, or the city attorney, or any of the morons on the city council of Muncie, Indiana. Graham v. Connor. What does that have to do with it? Well, let's save that for the next video. We'll continue to analyze this incident of unnecessary, unreasonable, excessive force on another human being. Graham v. Connor. It's that important. In fact, in this case, it's everything.